And the prolonged dry spell across England means 2 more areas are now officially in drought, bringing the total to 4.
Also this hour, the residents who had a lucky escape from a grass fire. The London Fire Brigade tells us there have been more wildfires in 2025 than the whole of last year.
The dry summer weather continues to cause problems as 2 more areas of England are now officially in drought. The West and East Midlands have joined the North West and Yorkshire in facing water shortages. The decision was made at a meeting this morning of the National Drought Group, which manages preparations for dry conditions in England. Our climate editor Justin Rowlett reports from near Bakewell in the Peak District.
There's not a drop of water in Bradwell Brook.
So how often does this river dry up?
It is prone to drying up, but certainly not this early in the year.
Matt Gable is an incident manager with the Environment Agency in the East Midlands.
It's absolutely concerning. They're such an important part of the ecosystem, and clearly it's not an aquatic ecosystem at the moment when there's no water in it. We're starting to see these impacts increase now as climate change begins to bite.
So what does a drought order actually mean?
It gives water companies more control over their resources. They can be allowed to take more water from lakes and rivers, and also makes it easier to impose something called a temporary use ban. What's that? We know it as a hosepipe ban. 8 million people in the UK are affected by hosepipe bans at the moment. Millions more could be soon if we don't get more rain.
The lack of rain has hit farmers hard. Robert Thornhill has been taking meticulous measurements of rainfall and the length of the grass in his fields for a quarter of a century.
It has been the worst spring in terms of low grass growth, and it's by far been the driest that I can remember. And we've got some land that has stored water which relies on rainfall, and it is nearly empty.
There is so little grass, he can only let his 250 cows graze at night. And as a result, milk yields are down 10%. Profit margins are already thin in farming, so that is a big hit and helps explain why the Environment Agency is saying we all need to do what we can to conserve water.
So look, the cows are out in the field having a bit of an evening feed. So what can we do to save water? No baths, short showers, turn the tap off when you're brushing your teeth. Even if you aren't in a hosepipe ban, don't use your hosepipe to water the garden, use a water butt. Don't wash your car if you can avoid it. Doesn't sound like much, but the Environment Agency says these little things really do make a difference.
The East and West Midlands today became the latest areas of the country to be placed under drought status. Officials say it has been England's driest start to the year since 1976. And the hot weather has been driving up demand. The Environment Agency warned that without substantial rain, more hosepipe bans will follow. Reservoir levels continue to fall, with storage across the country only 75% full. Here's our science correspondent, Martin Stew.
July 15th is St Swithin's Day. Legend has it, today's weather will keep going for the next 40 days. And boy, do we need the rain to continue. England has had its driest start to the year since 1976.
Normally, you know, the river would be up here. This is where the fishing stations are. And you can see how low it is. Yeah. And the water's very warm. I think someone took a reading of 19 degrees.
That's left oxygen levels in the Trent so low, anglers don't think fish will survive the stress of being caught, so have stopped fishing the river.
In your 50 years of fishing, have you seen all the clubs take action together like this before?
I haven't, no.
Despite today's rain, East and West Midlands have officially been classified as in drought, joining Yorkshire, Cumbria, Lancashire, Greater Manchester, Merseyside and Cheshire. Parts of East Anglia, Thames, Lincolnshire and Northamptonshire have been upgraded to join most of the rest of the country in the next most severe category.
We need to stop talking about these being extreme weather events and start to accept that because of climate change, things like this are going to be more normal. So as for whether more companies will introduce temporary use bans, that really genuinely depends on what happens with the weather over the next few months.
Existing temporary use better known as hosepipe bans, don't exactly match drought areas because of variables including storage and supply. But more restrictions are expected to be announced soon. Today, the Environment Agency has been rescuing wildlife from the dried-up River Derwent. It's up to them to juggle pressure from all sides. Gardeners, for example, want to water their plants, whilst farmers need to irrigate crops, which are heading for a poor harvest.
Well, it's really important for the Environment Agency to strike that balance between what people need and what the environment need, and that's what we're focusing on throughout this drought period.
A few St Swithin's Day showers are a drop in the ocean. To guarantee stores don't run dry, we'll need more rain and more restraint.
Well, Martin's by the River Trent in Nottingham today. Yesterday, Martin, the Met Office was saying this sort of weather, these conditions are only going to get more common. So how on earth are we going to cope in the future?
Yeah, we'll be potentially heading towards a really big problem. The forecast is in 30 years' time, we'll have a shortfall of 6 billion litres of water every single day. And part of the problem is, as rain falls, it falls in shorter, sharper bursts onto often built-up land. It washes into rivers like this one straight out to sea. So what we need to do is to capture it and store it in things like reservoirs. But guess what? In the last 30 years, we haven't built a single one. 10 are now under construction, but even when they're built in the next 10 years or so, we'll still only have a quarter of the number that they have in Spain. Look at another hot country, Cyprus. They reuse 97% of their wastewater in urban areas. In this country, where we rely on drinking quality water for things like flushing the loo, we only reuse 0.1%. As our climate warms, we are going to have to start learning lessons from these hotter countries who are used to dealing with it.
We start tonight with 3 wildfires that took hold in the capital last night. This is the aftermath in Dagenham, where 3 people were treated for smoke inhalation and around 50 residents evacuated from their homes. More than 200 firefighters were deployed across East London as further blazes took hold in Walthamstow and Hornchurch. Then this afternoon, another blaze in Upminster. Well, after a bit of respite today, temperatures are set to rise again, as does the risk of more fires. Anna O'Neill reports.
I smelt it. I've just came back from holidays and I was laying down in my nightgown and I smelled smoke.
Last night, Cynthia had a lucky escape.
I looked out and I saw it firstly at the far end of the park. And I thought, oh, somebody has probably struck a match or smoked.
A wildfire started burning here at the Beam Valley Country Park at about 8 o'clock.
The fire brigade were there with me, together. We bumped into each other at this end of my house. I opened the gates, and that's why they enter through my garden to go to put the fire out. And it did go out very quickly.
20 fire engines were sent to this blaze, one of 3 large fires in East London last night. The cause is under investigation.
Typically, fires like this in open space can be caused by things like disposable barbecues, which we really urge Londoners not to use in open spaces. A lot of local authorities already don't allow disposable barbecues in open spaces. Careful disposal of cigarettes, and that people take their rubbish away with them.
So you can see the difference in colour in this field here. On my right, you've got scorched, burnt earth there. You've got scorched, burnt earth on the left of me. But where I'm standing is a fire break. It's where the grass has been cut down really, really short, and it slows the progress of the fire. And you've also got a fire break at the end there, just towards where the fences of the houses are, and that's what's prevented the fire from getting any worse and affecting those houses. And that's why London Fire Brigade say the handling of this fire, the outcome of it, was a success.
Specifically where open land borders on residential properties, we've got large, wide fire breaks to stop the fire spreading towards those properties. And then throughout the park, there are further fire breaks which have been cut in where the grass is at a really low level to stop the fire spreading to other areas of the park. And in this instance, they've worked really effectively at stopping the spread or controlling the spread to one particular area.
It's not uncommon to see fires these days in the summer in the park here, but this is the closest a fire has been to the home Cynthia has lived in for 26 years. And last night's incident has got her thinking about making some changes.
I'm thinking I'm going to build a concrete wall. I think the concrete would stop it there.
Anna O'Neill, BBC London.
Well, I'm joined by our environment correspondent, Tom Edwards. Hi, Tom. Has the approach by London Fire Brigade to wildfires changed?
Yeah, there's definitely been a step change by the London Fire Brigade, and that goes back to that fire in 2022 in Wennington in East London, which destroyed 20 homes. You'll be able to see some pictures on the screens now. Since then, they've had new equipment. They've been trialling 4 of these wildfire response vehicles, they call them. That means they can go off-road. They've got the new hoses. They create a wall of water, and they've got new training. They have wildfire support officers who can tell the commander where to direct their action. Also, the authorities have put a lot more attention onto the fire breaks, as you saw there in Anna's report. In Dagenham, the fire breaks were actually put in on the advice of the London Fire Brigade, and I'm told probably saved those homes. But there's a stark warning. This won't be the last wildfire this morning, and this fire in Dagenham is probably not on the scale of Wennington.
Well, as you say, you know, these wildfires are not uncommon now. Is London prepared for these big climate changes?
Yeah, the risk of wildfires in London is currently, I've just read, currently classed as severe. We've had 24 already this year. That's more than the whole of last year already. After 2022, the Wennington fire, the Mayor commissioned a report into climate resilience. It found that London was unprepared. It made 50 recommendations, including doing paper exercises, how to deal with these heat waves, which it did. They did last summer. Today, City Hall told me London is ready and prepared for issues related to climate change, including extreme heat. But for cities, climate resilience is absolutely vital, and these systems are going to be tested again. Just today, another wildfire up in Upminster brought under control again by the London Fire Brigade.
OK, for now, Tom, thanks very much.